What's up YouTube, it's Deanna from Windy City Vape Reviews. Welcome to Vaping 101, Episode 3, Battery Safety. So not a very exciting topic today, but it is something that is very important, so I wanted to get through this before covering some of the more exciting things. So, batteries. There are different types of batteries. There are internal and external, and then there are different size external batteries, but the majority of devices out on the market right now take the 18650, so that's what we're going to use for the purpose of this video. As far as internal batteries, there are so many different kinds. This is an internal battery. This is a kind of a starter device, especially if you want to start getting into sub-ohm vaping. It's a good one to start out with. And then there's box mods. This was my very first box mod. This is the Anakin Coolfire 4, which I absolutely fell in love with from the minute I saw it, and I still use it. As you can see, I have an RDA on here with a coil build that I did. It's a dual coil build, and it reads at 0.63, and I have it at 39 watts. Not bad vapor production for a slightly higher ohm coil than what I normally build on. So you don't necessarily have to build super low to get good vapor production or good flavor. But external batteries. So like I said, most devices are 18650. There's single, there's dual, there's now triple 18650 devices. And this is a single 18650 device. It is my Tree Box by Smock. It's a 75 watt device. Has the single 18650 battery. And then there are many of the dual. This is one of my dual 18650s. It's the IPv5, and it has dual batteries in there. So, battery safety, whether you have internal or external, one thing you really want to make sure, you do not want to expose it to any kind of extreme weather. So please do not leave your devices in your vehicle, whether it's warm out or cold out. You don't want it to get too cold or too hot and start causing problems, either venting your batteries or, even worse, the battery exploding. If you're just running into the store for like 2 minutes, not a problem. But if you're going to work and you think, well, I'll just leave it in the car while I'm in work, not a good idea. Not just for your batteries, but also for your e-liquid, because those are supposed to be stored kind of at room temperature too. And don't forget, when the vehicles are outside, and especially if it's a sunny day, it's a good 20 degrees warmer in the vehicle than it is outside. So even though it may feel decent outside, it's going to get a lot warmer inside. So charging, whether you have an internal or an external, internal batteries devices typically will come with a USB cable. Some of them come with the plug also, but not very many. Most of them will just come with the micro USB cable. So definitely use the one that came with your device to charge it. Now, as far as external batteries, you can charge some of them in the devices. I personally do not do it. I don't feel comfortable with it. I know a lot of people do and they don't have any issues. It's just me personally, and my recommendation is to get an external battery charger. And I just have the eFest Luke 2-bay battery charger, and this one is awesome because once it gets up to the 4.2 volts, it will stop charging. So I don't have to worry that I have to keep an eye on it constantly to make sure that it doesn't overcharge. It will stop charging on its own, and I have not had any problems with this one whatsoever. Now that I'm getting more and more devices though, I do need to upgrade to either a 4-bay or a 6-bay because I'm constantly rotating batteries. So, let me take a vape. Storing your batteries. External. This is more for external battery kind of things. If you want to bring an extra set of batteries with you, just in case, especially something like my Tree Box, a single 18650, I'm running it at 70 watts. It's only a 75 watt device. This won't even last me all day at work if I go out on all of my breaks and vape a lot, which now that it's getting warmer out, I probably will be out vaping more during my breaks when I actually go back to work. But if you want to bring extra batteries with you, don't just throw them in your pockets and, you know, with your keys and your change and things like that. They actually have cases for them to carry them safely. So definitely invest in one. They're not very expensive. They have ones that are even like little single ones that you can pop it in there and even keep it on your keychain. So if you do want to keep it all together, you can do that. And your batteries. This is a Samsung 25R. And then I have the LG HD2s, I think. You want to make sure, if you look at the wrap on there, they do not have any tears whatsoever anywhere on the battery. Because basically all this silver on the outside is the negative conductor. So if your battery wrap starts to tear, you're going to have a negative conductor in a place you don't want it, which can cause your battery to vent, and we don't ever want that. Now, you can buy wraps for your batteries, and they're fairly inexpensive. I've seen them on Fast Tech, but I've seen them, I can't remember one of the other sites that I saw them at. You can get quite a few for, you know, just a few dollars, and the Vapor Chronicles actually showed how to rewrap a battery, so if you want to find that out, you can go check out his channel. I will put a link in the description below to that video, and it'll show you how to rewrap your batteries. Once they seem like they're not holding a charge as long as they typically would, it's probably time to replace them. You definitely want to find out how to properly dispose of them. There are probably different places that you can call in your area and some places where you can mail them off to properly dispose of them. You don't want to just throw them in your garbage. And depending on how much you use the batteries, you would probably want to replace them maybe every 3 to 6 months or so. Depending, if you only have like one set of batteries or two, you know, one that you rotate out, two different ones you rotate out, you're going to be using them much more if you're kind of more like me, where you've got a couple different devices that you're switching off between. You know, of course, they're definitely going to last a lot longer. And yeah, that's it for that portion of it. Now we're going to get into the Ohm's Law, which I'm still kind of learning, so please forgive me. So if I make a mistake, again, please comment down below, let me know, because like I said, I am still kind of learning this myself, but it is something that is very important, like I said, especially if we're going to start getting into building and using mech mods. So basically your ohms are your resistance, and the best way to think about resistance is to think about if you're drinking out of a straw. If you have a nice big wide straw, you're going to get a nice drink without having to put in too much effort. But if you have a little tiny like coffee straw, you're going to have to pull a lot harder to get a decent drink off of it. So you can kind of think of your resistance like that. The lower the resistance, the more power you're going to get right off the bat. And the higher the resistance, it's going to take a little longer for it to get up to that power. So there are calculators out there that will help you to figure out what is the best as far as how low in ohms you should go for a specific build that you want to do, especially on a mechanical mod. Now your regulated mods, the majority of them are going to tell you, and even your unregulated, they're going to tell you like the lowest you should go on this is, you know, like this much. That's just what the device can handle, but you also have to look at what kind of batteries you have in there. The more amps that your battery can put out, of course, the more power you're going to get. Now, a lot of the batteries are rated at like 30 amps. Some of them now say 35, 40 amps. That's pretty much your pulse, which means if you just hit your button like that. But most of them, as far as continuous, have only 20 amps. So that means while you're holding and vaping. most, like I said, most of the batteries only have 20 amp continuous. So if you go to the Ohms Law Calculator, and there are different ones, I'm actually using the one on ohmslawcalculator.com. Steam Engine also has one, and now they actually do have apps for your phone that have them, but this is what the Ohms Law Calculator looks like. And you have to put in 2 of the 4 values to come up with whatever you're trying to find. So let's say this battery has a continuous pulse of 20 amps, and I know that the voltage is 4.2 when it's fully charged, so I'm going to put my voltage in at 4.2, and then I'm going to put the current, which is my amps, at 20. Hit calculate, and now it will show you what your lowest resistance should be and your power, your watts. So my lowest resistance that I should be able to build using this battery in a mechanical mod is a 0.21 ohm. And I typically don't build lower than a 0.2 myself. I do have some pre-made coils that do go down lower than that when I put them in as a dual coil, but I only use those on my regulated mods. So according to Ohms Law Calculator, if I have a 4.2 volt battery, 20 amps of current, and a 0.21 ohm resistance, the power is going to be about 84 watts. Which, if I put it on a regulated device, is probably right around where I would be vaping it anyway, or slightly less than that. So that's kind of what Ohm's Law is, and I know it's very confusing, and there's people that'll say, well, it's this, you know, times this divided by that. I'm just using a calculator because I ain't trying to figure all that out in my head, because I'm not that good at math, for one, and I want to make sure that I am doing it safely for another. So as far as building your coils, there are different gauges of wire. Most typically you're going to start out using Kanthal, and they go anywhere from like 20 gauge all the way up to like 32 gauge. Now the higher the number, the smaller the wire is and the more resistance it has. The lower the number, like a 20 gauge, the thicker the wire and the less resistance you're going to have, which I know kind of seems a little backwards, but that's just the way it is. Typically you're going to start out building on like a 24, 26 gauge. 26 gauge is nice because it kind of like, it's a little more malleable, it's a little easier to control than the thicker wires, but it will give you a lower, or a higher resistance rather. So, you know, if you want to go a little bit lower build, you're going to have to do a little bit less wraps, because that's another thing. The wraps that you do are going to add resistance. So the more wraps you do, the more resistance you do. So your ohms are going to be higher. I surely hope that I am not confusing you, because I know sometimes I'm like, what? But there probably are a lot of other people that describe it a lot more technically than I do, but if you're kind of like not technically inclined as far as electricity goes, like I am not, yeah, that's the best way I can describe it. Kind of like the straw theory. If you had a silly straw that had a lot of bends in it, the more bends you have, the longer it's going to take to get the drink into your mouth. Basically, it's the only way that I can think of to describe it. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So that is pretty much it for battery safety that I can think of off the top of my head. Again, if there's anything that I'm forgetting or anything that I have stated incorrectly, please feel free to correct me down below. I will put in the links to the different ohms calculators, and again, I will put in the link to the Vapor Chronicles and how to rewrap your battery. So that is it for today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more upcoming vaping related news and reviews. Hope you all have a great day, and until next time, keep calm and vape on.